Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be doing a review on Goblin Slayer, another adventurer nightmare feast, so let's get into it. Now this game is a fun, story-driven tactical RPG set in the Goblin Slayer universe based on the anime. And you'll play as a local adventuring guild guildmaster and a band of ragtag heroes that also join forces with the Goblin Slayer adventure crew to stop an ongoing threat from the army of chaos across the land. Now this game has a really big emphasis on the story, and it almost feels like a combination of a visual novel style storytelling alongside this tactical RPG combat focused game. And I definitely did enjoy the story, but at the same time, at some points I felt like it was a little bit long in between the action, and I think it could have maybe been balanced a little bit better, where some of the story sessions potentially could have been split or even combined with the tactical combat. Maybe after a couple turns, you'd have some story elements mixed in instead of being a big story chunk, tactical mission, big story chunk, tactical mission. Again, not a huge deal breaker, but at some points I really wanted to get back into the action. And so pacing maybe could have been a little bit better there. Outside of that though, the gameplay really focuses on strategic combat, and you'll be able to use kind of a combination of teams. You can have the main adventure team from the Goblin Slayer series take part in your combat missions. There's a team built up of story characters from this game. And then there's also random heroes you can recruit throughout the game and play with a combination of all these heroes throughout your missions. Now, the main story is really built around these adventure guild missions and the mission board, and taking on different challenges to help the local areas. And then a greater plot of evil kind of unfolds alongside of that. And I think this fits incredibly well within the Goblin Slayer universe, and the tactical RPG elements fit in quite well as well, as it seems like the Goblin Slayer anime was kind of based around that concept as well, being more of kind of like a tabletop strategy, Dungeons and Dragons style RPG that the theme is centered around, and it translates very well into this tactical RPG gameplay. For example, your guild heroes will have class ranks, and as they level up, you'll be able to upgrade their ranks, unlocking new powers and abilities. Again, this is very similar to the anime where different adventurers will have rank levels. There's also different class types or job types as well, where you can have healers and mages and archers and shamans. Again, very similar to the anime. And you'll mix and match your team of heroes to go on these adventures, just like in the show. This also fits well because with the anime, heroes would have sort of a limit of how many times they could use their abilities or spells, and this translates very well to the AP or the MP for your characters and how many times they can use their abilities in battle. Another fun mechanic is that your heroes can upgrade their equipment and armor, and so in between missions you'll be able to go to town and do this. Also, weapons and armor have the ability that you can add either attack bonuses or defense bonuses depending on the materials that you use. And you can even add elemental enhancements or elemental defenses, again, depending on the items you use to craft and enhance your weapons and armor. Combat, again, is more traditional turn-based strategy where you'll be moving your heroes around the map and they have limited spaces that they can move. Their attacks and magic have ranges that they can utilize, elemental weaknesses and strengths against certain enemy types. And another cool feature is that you can bring traps with you into your missions. And so you'll set these up around the battlefield before combat happens. There's even some fate or chance elements that play a factor as well. And so you can equip these before battle, but it adds a dice rolling element to some of your attacks and abilities, where it might add an extra bonus amount of damage or an extra level of healing if you're successful in your role. Again, pulling in that kind of tabletop RPG feel to it. There's also a limit to how many items you can bring with you into battle, and so that added another strategic element to it. And so you'll need to balance this between healing items you might bring, items that can eliminate status effects, and much more. And so this was another strategic level that I liked within the game. And your missions also focus on more than just combat. where it's not just defeat everything on the screen. Well, a lot of missions will be like that. There are some unique twists to that, where you maybe need to protect certain characters on your team. Maybe it's protecting certain NPC characters to make sure they're not defeated. There also might be elements like defeating certain enemy bosses will end the mission, and much more. And so this variety really kept things fresh and engaging throughout the combat. It also had sort of a choose your own adventure type mission system where you have different training missions you can take part in to level up your characters and your team. But then in between the main story missions, you'll have several side missions that you can choose from, but there's only so many you can choose from before you have to tackle that next main story mission. And so you need to carefully balance what items you maybe receive as rewards from these side missions, what characters you want to bring to level up and power up, or even the different challenges you want to take on throughout each version of playing through the game. And so I think this could add some replay value to the game as well, because you won't be able to experience every side mission as you play through the first time, because many times there'll be excess missions and you'll need to select from a few of them before moving on to the next main story mission. Another thing that can also add to the replay is the fact that you can use kind of these different groups of heroes, the main story heroes from this game, the Goblin Slayer team, or a combination of those and more generic heroes that you can recruit along the way into your team. And so mixing and matching that, giving yourself an extra challenge, or just strategically switching things up by using different characters could add to more replay value to the game as well. Now, it also had multiple difficulty settings to the game. I played through on the harder version and it was actually quite challenging. There's one that's focused more on the story, where it's maybe less difficult as you play through the game, but I did actually find myself losing some of the early battles early on and really needing to up the strategic focus of the game through later missions on this harder difficulty. And so that was definitely refreshing to actually face a challenge in some of these missions instead of just plowing through with overpowered characters. Another neat feature is that the missions also give you a heads up on how difficult they might be, kind of giving you a level range you might want to have your team be in to be successful in the mission. And so I thought that was nice. Again, kind of gives you some insight on maybe if you want a harder challenge, go in at the lower level settings. Or again, maybe you want to grind a little bit and level up your characters in some training missions and then take it on. Or again, maybe if you almost cleared it, maybe you'll just have to take on one training mission and then try it again and hopefully be successful at that point. And so I like that element, kind of giving you a heads up on how hard each one of these missions should be. The campaign as a whole is pretty lengthy. Like I mentioned, it is quite story focused, so there's a lot of breaks in between the action, going through each story mission and really unraveling that each time. But there are plenty of different chapters to go through, and so I think you'll get a lot of gameplay out of this game, and it's pretty easy to sink dozens of hours in if you really get into it, especially if you decide to play the game multiple times through to really try every single one of these different side missions. Another note is that I didn't have any experience watching the anime going into this game, and I don't think that really affects your enjoyment of it at all. They do a great introduction of the characters coming over from the anime, and there is kind of that base set of heroes that this story focuses around and introduces to you right away, and then slowly integrates those characters as you progress throughout the game. But since starting this game, I definitely chose to start watching the anime. And like I mentioned, I think it translates very well into this game. You'll certainly get some added enjoyment if you watch the anime, but I also certainly don't think it's necessary to have had to have watched the anime before playing this game or to fully enjoy this game. But overall, if you're a fan of this series or not, I think this is a really solid entry as a tactical RPG. And if you like that style of turn-based, strategy-based gameplay, this one is definitely fun and I highly recommend it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you played this game yet? Are you a fan of the anime? Does this look like a fun tactical RPG to you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you did want to pick up a copy of this game, I'll put a link in the description below where you can do so. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a company, Geek Crate, that puts together various bundles. So whether you like things like Harry Potter, Pokemon, Naruto, Marvel, and more, they've got different bundles for everything. They have a subscription service you can take advantage of or buy just one-time bundle packs of various items. And so if you did want to check that out and help support the channel, head to nerdproblemsgaming.com/geek crate, and you'll actually get 15% off your order and help support our channel at the same time. So if you want to take advantage of that cool discount, be sure to head there as well. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.